Hi, I'm Tom Plusinski from BMW Group Classic USA, and today I have a unicorn for you. We're at the Petersen Automotive Museum to look at an M3. And you would think, it's a normal M3. But no, this one is really special. This is one of 3 in the world, and it's an E46 M3 GTR from 2001. A lot of subtleties on it. It's not something that screams out different. But as we look at this car, we'll see what's really special about it. We spoke earlier about a E46 M3 GTR race car, the Stars and Stripes car that is here at the museum. And that was the race version of it. But in order to be able to race that car, there needed to be a street version, a homologation special. And that's what this car is. So what we have is an E46 M3, a very special engine under the hood that we'll show you in a minute, some very careful and subtle body panel differences, finishing off with a spoiler at the rear and a wing at the rear of the car, all to make the M3 GTR homologated for racing in the US and the world. Let me tell you how we got to this car that's behind me. Back in 2000, there was a competitive set of cars racing in IMSA and WEC. And in order for us to be part of that group, we needed a car that would be competitive. It was determined that the 6-cylinder in the E46 M3 would not be sufficient to be competitive in the group. And so BMW went to the ACO and the FIA, the sanctioning bodies, and asked if they could apply the same waiver to us as they had applied to another competitor. They said, yes, we can, we must, because we have to be fair to everyone. And that stipulation, that waiver, allowed us to put a V8 engine in this car as long as we offered it on the market on 3 different continents, made a few, and a few was kind of nebulous, and we had the parts in the parts fiche, brochure, and listed a retail price for the car. BMW had to develop this car from scratch in 1 year. And I should mention that normally it takes BMW 3 years to develop a car. So this was a rush development, 1 year to get it done. And finally, this car behind us, or one of its sisters, was first shown to the public at Petit Le Mans in October of 2001 at the race. It was driven around the paddock, but unfortunately, at that point, the rules had already been changed. You may be asking the question, well, why go to the trouble of doing a V8 powered M3 to go racing? Well, for us at BMW M and at BMW North America, it was really important to stay active in racing. We had had great success with the E36 M3, and we really needed to continue that and establish BMW M in North America. So it was important not only to have a car visible in racing, but having a car that was capable of winning races. We had no idea at the time that it would be so dominant, but we needed to have our best shot at winning some races. Really what's special on the E46 M3 GTR is what's under the hood. So let's open it now. And there you have it, the P60 4-liter V8, flat plane crank, lots of torque, lots of horsepower, lots of vibration. But it is the true race engine in a street car, detuned to about 350 horsepower. Some of the other things you'll notice inside here is it's dry sump lubrication. There's a separate oil tank. The radiator is canted at a very sharp angle, and there are vents in the hood to extract the air from the radiator, similar to the race car. So what you have here is a lot of technology that was taken straight from the race car to the street car. Again, I mentioned earlier that it was developed over a period of just 1 year, so this had to happen very quickly, and it was the race engineers that worked on this as well. You see some additional structural pieces in here to make the body more rigid, but this is truly the heart of the M3 GTR. So as I said earlier, this really does look like an E46 M3, but there are a few subtle clues that people in the know will know immediately make this a GTR. First, you have the vents on the hood here. Now, each of the 3 cars that still exist have slightly different vents. Some have the double vents, some have the single vents, some are in body color and others are not. The hood is aluminum, but it's the same looking as an E46, so you can't really tell from that. The other big difference is in the nose here. This is a different nose and splitter, and it's very similar to the one that was used on the race car. So it has the same design of it. It has a number plate location there, but other than that, it is race type technology, and it goes underneath the car as well quite a ways. So it gives underbody flow characteristics that are better. But this is one of the signature pieces of the M3 GTR. And you notice that the bumper actually sticks out quite a bit more, and that was also done for aero needs on the race car. So that's the nose, and that's probably the most visible change to the car. If you walk down to the side of the car, really there's not that much that is different. If you know the E46 M3 very well, you'll notice that the tires are quite far in the arches, and the body is quite a bit lower than a normal E46. But it's very subtle and very difficult to see for most people, especially if you don't have the two cars side by side. As we work towards the rear, really the big difference at the rear would be the wing. There's a little lip spoiler in carbon fiber underneath the wing, and then the rear fascia is completely different than the normal E46 M3. These were done in order to be able to have some flexibility for homologation on the race car, and the lower fascia there also is a bit of a diffuser back in the era of 2000, 2001, when diffusers looked a little bit different than they do today. But those are basically the changes from the exterior. These days we're used to seeing carbon fiber roofs on M cars, but this was kind of unique back in the day. The first M3 to have a carbon fiber roof was the M3 CSL. This car also has the carbon roof. Something you're used to today, but it was unique in its era. Even though I said earlier that these parts had to be within the parts fiche for the homologation, unfortunately, you can't buy a GTR aluminum hood or a front fascia for your E46 M3. It'd be nice to be able to do that. I think the aftermarket's kind of figured out how to make it, but unfortunately from BMW, you cannot buy original parts. There are 3 GTRs, that's it, there will be no more. First thing you notice when you open the door of the GTR is the sill plate that says M3 GTR on it. And then you see these nice shell bucket seats here that are proper race buckets with an FIA sticker on them. And they are, similar to the ones that you would have in a race car. All 3 street cars have slightly different interiors and slightly different seats, but this gives you a good example of one of the GTR street cars. The rest of the interior is pretty much the same as the normal E46 M3. It has a 6-speed manual transmission, which is an interesting point because the CSL had an SMG transmission, whereas on this car, it was back to a full 3-pedal, H-pattern, 6-speed. One thing I will tell you is that this engine is a high-revving V8. It shifts very nicely. It's a very tight gearbox, but it vibrates a lot because it is flat plane crank, and so it operates like 2 Siamese 4-cylinder engines, and so you feel the vibrations in the car. Otherwise, cockpit is straight up E46, a wonderful driving position. European steering wheel and European airbag on this particular example. And one thing that is very special and very different than your normal E46 is if we look in the rear seat, there is no rear seat. So it is taken away for weight savings, and that is one of the unique features of the M3 GTR. If I open the trunk, you can see there's a few changes in there as well. Mostly, what's visible is a structural piece in the rear of the car that is meant to strengthen the rear subframe and rear axle area. It reduces your luggage capacity or limits how you can get things to the front part of your luggage capacity. But again, it's a race car for the street, so that is one of the unique features of this particular car. This particular example has roughly 500 miles on it, so it's really a baby. I had a chance to drive it very briefly between one location to another, and you feel the rawness of the V8 engine and that flat plane crank with the vibration that is part of it, and the massive torque, and it's just a wonderful feeling. It's 350 horsepower in the street version. In the race version, we have 500 horsepower, but it feels very similar to the race version of the car. It's more visceral, it's much more raw, much more involving for you as a driver. With the 6-speed manual transmission included in that, it harkens back to older days versus newer days, I'd say, within the history of BMW. But again, very similar to the race car. The race car sounds wonderful, this sounds wonderful, lots of power, lots of torque. You have to love it. So at the end of the 2001 season, ALMS and ACO decided to change the rules. And they changed the rules to the point where you had to build 1,000 engines, so 1,000 P60 race engines, not possible for BMW, and build quite a few more cars for the street. It wasn't feasible for us, so we ended the program. We retired from racing at the end of 2001. The race cars were retired, as well as the street car program, and the program ended at that point. So in total, there were 10 cars made, 7 of which were development cars, and those are no longer in existence. And we have 3 production-ready street cars that are all within BMW's collection. And it was a difficult decision for BMW to end the streetcar program. But because we weren't racing anymore, it really didn't make sense to continue with the streetcar. It was a difficult project, an expensive project to undertake, and if we weren't going to benefit from racing the car, it didn't make any sense anymore. So the whole project ended, the cars were put in the warehouse, and that was the end of it. The parts were never put in the parts fiche system. The brochures were made and distributed around the world. There are still some examples left, but that is the end of the M3 GTR, never to be seen again until it came back as the car you start with on Need for Speed Hot Pursuit, which you immediately lose in their first Hot Pursuit chase, and you have to get to the end of the game to get your GTR back. And all of a sudden, the GTR was known by a whole nother group of people that never saw it in the first place. This BMW M3 GTR is here at the Petersen Automotive Museum in the Vault area as part of a special exhibit called The Ultimate Racing Machine, 50 Years of the 3 Series. The exhibit runs until July of 2026, but if you want to see the GTR street car, you need to come before December because unfortunately, this one will need to go back to Munich before the end of the year. My name is Tom Plasinski from BMW Group Classic USA. Thank you for joining me on this tour of the GTR. Hopefully you have a chance to come and see it for yourself.